Welcome back to Inside Track Europe, and this is the third and our final panel, and we're going to be discussing AI automation and the opportunities that lie therein for MSPs around Europe. I'm very happy to be joined by two gentlemen here. So we've got Marty Legg. He is the head of sales at one of Europe's largest AWS partners, that's HeleCloud. And we have Dean Gardner, and he is the Field CTO of Softcat, of course, one of the UK's biggest channel firms. So thank you both for joining me here in the studio. I want to start with a couple of forecasts from the analysts. Speaking to Forrester, and they tell journalists like myself things like 2021 is the time for AI to shine, and that it's something that is finally lucrative, and there are tangible use cases around the channel for partners to make money. So I think I'm going to start with you, Dean. To what extent is AI now a revenue reality for partners like yourselves?
Yeah, thanks, Nima, and thanks for inviting me today. So I think there's a huge opportunity, and I think it's definitely future-based. If we look at our business today, in terms of what we're selling around this subject, I think there's a realistic expectation that customers are not coming to us asking to buy products that do artificial intelligence. What we're seeing is very much customers looking at their data sets, looking at what they're doing more realistically in their processes and their business processes, and asking us to solve some of those business problems. And also some of those business problems absolutely can be solved with solutioning, automation techniques, and using certain tools from certain vendors to bring that together to solve some of those business problems. But it's very much data driven, and obviously driven around automating some of those business processes and then moving more into building more intelligence around those business processes. So it's one of those things that's not a pure product sale, and obviously being a reseller, we do a lot of that. It's really about being consultative with our customers, understanding what they're trying to achieve, and then coming up with solutions to create that efficiency and some of those automation techniques that we're using around things like RPA and certainly intelligent process automation to bring that together to create those efficiencies, which in turn absolutely create more data intelligence and automation and more opportunity. But it's not a quick win product sale. It's very much consultative with the customer.
I'll come to you in a second, Marty, but I just want to add with you, Dean, that in the past, when I was at the very large vendor conferences and Microsoft, the AWS conferences that would happen in London, the vendors would always go in on AI and machine learning, and then you'd go to the floor, to the partners and the customers, and they wouldn't be quite as enthusiastic. So even if you're saying that it's not a pure product sale, has there been any shift this year in terms of the use of AI and machine learning in your marketing? Is that helpful in any sense, or is it still something that's sort of running, that's embedded in solutions and in the back end, so to speak?
I definitely think it's embedded in solutions. Are we being more proactive in the back end to run certainly our business using data and more intelligent data, and then building out automation around how we respond to that data to certainly our customers and what our customers are looking to achieve? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it comes down to how you develop your business processes, how you develop that intelligence in amongst what your data sets have to then respond accordingly, and automating that as best as you can. There's still elements of human interaction with that, but there's certainly more tools, there's more capabilities to invest in technology that helps, in my opinion, achieve some of that. From a marketing and a sales perspective. But also, our customers are all doing similar things with similar data sets and in their industries. So we're seeing more verticalized opportunity as well. So working with certain sectors, legal, working with organizations in automotive as an example, working with those organizations to understand what they're trying to achieve from those vertical areas, and then creating repeat modes of opportunity using AI and techniques we use for things like robotic process, or RPA, essentially process automation. So there's opportunities there from verticalized industry. From our own perspective, absolutely, we have to use that type of technique or those techniques to improve how we serve our customers and build our business.
Okay. And Marty, how would you characterize the opportunities, or even, I should say, the challenges that lie within AI for a partner like yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I think if we go back to the challenge for most organizations, and most organizations have various buckets of data that are sort of dispersed in their organization. And I think everybody recognizes that there's huge value that sits inside those data sets. And it's about how do you unlock that and unleash that. And I think as Dean sort of said, I think the sort of, if you look at it as more like a roadmap of how to unleash that, the starting point is how do you start to centralize that data more effectively using mesh or grid or data ingestion models to make it simple for organizations to start to centralize the data so that you can start to make more value out of that. And I think the key is to not try to think of it as sort of a nirvana, as to more about look for the simple challenges and things that you want to get out. And what will happen over time is that you'll continue to build out that capability, but looking at simple use cases of what you want to try and achieve. There are some types of businesses where it's very obvious, but there's also many opportunities in almost every organization to harness their data, whether it's customer data, whether it's network data, whether it's a service data, where they want to try and drive efficiencies and effectiveness and drive either operational efficiencies or competitive advantage by knowing your customers or delivering to your customers better. So the interesting thing is those opportunities are almost everywhere, but not to think of them as a total overall. Think of them as individual small opportunities that you have to pick off and slowly pull the businesses in that direction. And it's a sort of it's a thinking process that organizations have to go through.
Mm-hmm. You talked about that as a challenge, and I think it leads quite neatly into my next question, which is to ask about what the state of play is now with end users and how they view AI and their spend, their budget. Because again, going back to the analysts, I think it was Forrester earlier this year that said only 7% of firms are currently in Europe reporting advanced insight-driven practices. So is that a good thing then? Does that mean that there's a lot of growth, or does it mean potential for growth, or does it mean there's actually quite a lot of resistance still in end users actually spending on AI-related technology, services, that kind of thing? And Marty, I'll stick with you.
Yeah, so I think the ambition is there. I think the desire is there in organizations. I think everybody's recognizing that there is huge gains to be had around using data intelligently, and that the human has its limitations. That where machinery can do huge amounts of work and computational work that aids our decision making and our ability to deliver services. So I see that almost all businesses are thinking in that direction. I think most businesses still have the challenge of thinking about how do I actually start to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And part of that is there's a technology leap for organizations, but there's also a skill set leap. So there's a technology leap and a capability leap. And that capability is in short supply. Finding people that have machine learning, AI, and capability, analytics capability is actually very, very difficult for organizations to secure, because there are many larger tech companies that everybody knows about that is sucking up huge amounts of that capability and paying handsomely for it as well. So a lot of the other businesses are struggling to be able to compete for that kind of resource. So hence where a partner, I think, comes in and plays an important role in the help of the development, not only of the technology, but also helping organizations develop their capability as well.
Mm-hmm. I just happened to have spoken to several Benelux partners recently who said that the whole premise of them investing in AI in their portfolios is to give them a competitive advantage. And Dean, obviously, Softcat's well known for being extremely competitive within the UK market. Can you talk to us about how Softcat views AI in that sense, in the sense of having a competitive advantage?
Yeah, I mean, we're a sales-driven organization. We've got really good processes in place to train and get our sales teams into a position where they can be a very customer focused. But we do use data effectively to be able to kind of manage how they can start being more targeted with how they go into those customers, and a lot of the data we collect and obviously harvest, it's going back to what Marty said, it's training our own people internally to start using that data more effectively, to start positioning that back to our sales teams to be more competitive to in our industry, to essentially what is becoming more so in the reseller space, an exceptionally busy area. We are dealing with a lot of organizations where we do have to go in and a lot of the time have the same sets of customers. So what differentiates us from those others is certainly what we focus on, and customer success and being able to provide customer service is critical to that, and it's critical to the way we train our sellers. But a lot of it is data centric. It's how we collect and harvest that information. But just want to go back to something that Marty said previously. It's building out that capability. It's educating in the right way to focus on skill sets differently to probably what we would have done 2 years ago. It's really accelerating very quickly, and the talent pool isn't that big. So it's how you then train those people effectively, your own people as well, to kind of do those things in an effective way. Because hiring those people, as Marty said, it's not an easy thing to do, unless you've got a big wallet share to pay someone and probably ship them over from the US, because that's where a lot of them seem to be.
Perennial issue then, I guess, for the channel and the lack of enough skill. That's one hurdle, I suppose. And another, I think, you and I have spoken about this, Marty, about, I think the way you characterized it was that when it comes to AI, partners need to be aware of the lessons learned in a software-defined world. Could you share with people who are watching what you meant by that?
Yeah, sure. Let me just scoot back just to the response around, what are we doing internally? Because I just want to touch on that, because actually we've kicked off a huge, over the last 12 months, a huge project of how we harness data, open source data, and turn that into intelligence for our sales organizations and also our partners. So we supply a lot of intelligence into our own customers, but also into the prospects and being able to target. I think we've revolutionized the way we go to market. I've been doing this for 20 odd years, and for most of that 20 years, it's been a blunt hammer, at best. Which customer have we done something for before? Who else in finance looks like that? And let's go and target them. We still didn't really know whether or not they were interested, or whether there was a subject matter that we now know. We don't guess anymore. We know in the marketplace what organizations are absolutely interested in the things that we're doing. We also know the individuals in that organization that are interested. We know specifically what will resonate with them, and also kinds of ways that they're consuming information, so we can resonate not only with the content that we give to them, but the vehicles which we present it to them in. But it's taking us, and this is a huge journey for us, because the change is not only have we built or worked with an organization to build this tooling, but we've also had to rethink the way you market. You can't, the simplistic way is, we're going to focus on this vertical and this subject matter. We're going to blast it out to a whole pile of people. But actually, again, it's a blunt tool that you can do all kinds of processes around, but it's still a blunt tool. So we really are doing precision-focused, very, very targeted messaging that goes to individual people. I would say that we're right at the front edge of doing that sort of stuff. I don't know anybody else that's probably doing, maybe, Facebook, Google, and stuff like that, but we've done a huge amount of work around that. So yeah, I'm really pleased. And this is, if you want to go back into the software-defined world, which was the reason I spent, 20 years in the data center world, always dreaming that tomorrow was going to be the day that software-defined networking was going to be everywhere, and everything would be this, as the vendors say, the self-healing network, and all those sort of things were lovely terms that never really actually happened. And the reality was, in that world was the same thing, is that actually solving this broad problem was never going to happen. But actually, if you looked at day-to-day toil and said to someone, what repetitive tasks are your teams having to do that take up huge amounts of time that really a human, an intelligent human doesn't need to be doing? So how can we help an organization? So we moved into that world of software defined, but more through very focused pieces of work. How can we remove that toil out of your job and allow your intelligent teams to be able to put their minds to the task that a human is much more adept at delivering on? So I see the same kind of reflection in AI now, which has that same sort of thing. It's not a fix all to everything. I think I was listening to Elon the other day, talking about machine learning and AI, and he was saying, look, we look specifically at tasks where we can use machine learning and AI to deliver value. It's not fixing all things, but where we can remove tasks which are repetitive, which or tasks which take huge computational capabilities. Like in our intelligent marketing approach, there's huge amounts of data. I couldn't get a human being possibly to look at that volume of data and instantaneously, when I say instantaneously, within minutes effectively, and give me the insights. It's impossible. And I can get it in real time. I can get in real time about my customers. I can have that understanding that is filtering to me about the changes and the trend of my customer. So that's hugely valuable to us as an organization, and how to be able to, but you have to adapt the engine to how to cope with that, which is, so how, now that I have this intelligence, how do I now market to those people in real time around subject matters that they're interested in, so that I can be relevant to my customers and I'm not bothering and badgering them about stuff that they're not interested in.
Okay. Thank you for that, Marty. I suppose as we're drawing to a close, my final questions to both of you would be around where you think AI is going to go in terms of the channel and being lucrative for the channel in the next couple of years. Dean, you said that there's already been significant change over the last 2 years. So where next for you, do you think?
I think just going from what Marty just said, actually, it's a services opportunity to understand the business problem. So when we're talking to all of our customers, they all serve different needs and requirements for their customers, but fundamentally it's a very data-centric world. So whatever they're doing with their data, to be able to create those efficiencies and get that value out is number one, but also within their own processes of how they run their organizations. We're working very hard. We're launching something called Softcat Labs very soon, where we want to capture some of those requirements from groups of customers to then go into innovation circles where we can then solve some of those business problems in an effective way, getting them closer to engineering, getting them closer to people who can create those efficiencies and create that process automation to then extract out those repeatable tasks, but also to automate those repeatable tasks into areas where you're cutting down that human interaction. And all those areas are absolutely focus points for us, for our customers, how we service those customers, and pushes us into areas where we're not leading with a product resale, but we're leading with producing a services solution to an outcome to solve that business problem for our customers. And I think that's a different mindset to where we were a few years ago. But that's what customers are asking for us to try and do for them. We're proactively building that capability to help them. And I think that being more innovative with our customers and understanding their businesses more is only how we're going to get closer to them to kind of tackle some of the challenges they have, but also focus on these areas such as machine learning, AI, process automation. It is getting closer to them, and it's solving some of those problems with those solutions.
Okay. And I'll end with you, Marty. Obviously, your own company undergoing a significant change right now, and with a larger scope with Software One acquisition. But where would you say that the top opportunities are in terms of AI and machine learning with yourself?
Yeah, I think first of all is harnessing the innovation in software that's out there already, being able to take that, and as that develops and becomes more usable effectively and a bit more mainstream, the challenge is solving for the customer this problem of these are layers of software effectively. And you have to have sort of, if you like, if your data is in the cloud, you're going to have native cloud application skills, which are going to unleash that application around the data. But you also have to have AWS necessarily or cloud infrastructure skills. So it's combining. It's a bit like collapsing the old world when you're collapsing infrastructures. It's the same here, is collapsing that piece together and then tying in machine learning and AI around it. Now the challenge with that is finding those capabilities. So I suspect that all the organizations out there that want it won't be able to take it in-house because there's just not enough people to do that. So effectively, I think you're going to see development of outsourced capability that will get delivered into organizations. HeleCloud being one of those organizations has a big focus on AI and machine learning, and we have that native cloud capability that ties together application capabilities, infrastructure capabilities, and deliver it. But I suspect there's going to be a drive on the partner landscape to help organizations in that next phase. And then over time, organizations will insource it and understand it better and build. And as it becomes more automated as a delivery mechanism, they'll then start to take it on board themselves and run with it themselves.
Fantastic. Well, great. Both Dean and I were nodding along as you were talking there. So a good place, I think, for us to draw to a close. Thank you very much, both of you gentlemen, for joining me today.